Coming up on Arirang News. The escalation between Israel and Hezbollah is approaching a fully fledged war, as Israel's bombardment of Lebanon on Monday killed over 500 people. World leaders and the UN called for an urgent de-escalation. Hezbollah too fired a barrage of missiles at Israeli air base in response. The top diplomats of South Korea, the U.S., and Japan met in New York on Monday, where they agreed to coordinate a leaders' meeting within the year and establish a trilateral secretariat, while reaffirming their commitment to continued three-way cooperation regardless of the political transitions. The government and the ruling party decided to support unemployed, isolated youth by increasing the related budget by 16% on year for 2025. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. I'm Kim Bo-kyung. Israel launched airstrikes across Lebanon, targeting Hezbollah in what turned out to be one of the deadliest days in the Middle East. Hundreds were killed, including dozens of women and children. Choi Min-jung has our top story.
The Israeli strikes on Lebanon on Monday killed at least 492 people. Lebanon's health ministry said more than 90 women and children were among the victims. More than 1,600 were left wounded. The attack marked the deadliest day of conflict between Israel and Hezbollah since 2006.
We can say that all those who were killed today are civilians, and anyone can see that it was civilian targets that were hit.
The Israeli military reported that its warplanes struck around 1,600 Iran-backed Hezbollah targets and destroyed cruise missiles as well as long and short-range rockets. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu expressed his willingness to continue Israel's attacks on Hezbollah.
I want to clarify Israel's policy. We don't wait for a threat. We anticipate it. Anywhere, in any front, at any time. I promised that we would change the security balance. The balance of power in the north. This is exactly what we are doing.
The military conflict between Israel and Hezbollah dates back to 40 years ago. The Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah was established in the early 1980s in response to Israel's invasion of Lebanon. After years of mounting hostility, tensions between the two erupted into a full-scale war in 2006. And 20 years later today, tensions have again escalated amid the war in Gaza and Israel's killing of Hezbollah's most senior military commander in July. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
In response to the major spike in violence between Israel and Hezbollah, the U.S. is sending additional troops to the Middle East. The international community is seeking ways to reduce tensions and prevent an all-out war. Cha Eun-kyung has more.
Major General Pat Ryder, the Pentagon press secretary, said the U.S. is sending a small number of additional military personnel to the Middle East in light of increased tension in the region and out of an abundance of caution during an off-camera press briefing. Ryder would not say how many more forces will be deployed or what they would be tasked to do. The U.S. currently has about 40,000 troops in the region. The additional deployment is interpreted as protecting Israel and preventing escalation due to a possible military intervention by Iran in the fight between Israel and Hezbollah. As tensions increase in the Middle East, international society is voicing its concerns about an all-out war between Israel and Hezbollah and seeking efforts to reduce tensions and prevent a war in the region.
The civilians are paying a high price, and almost a full-blown war, which must be averted.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also expressed concern on Monday over the escalation of tensions between Israel and Lebanon, urging for a de-escalation and diplomatic solution. France on Monday requested an emergency UN Security Council meeting to discuss the issue after Israel launched a major cross-border attack against Hezbollah. Jordan expressed solidarity with Lebanon and called for the UN to take action, according to CNN. Meanwhile, the Israeli Air Force said that it had carried out about 650 strike missions in the past 24 hours, targeting southern and northern parts of Lebanon, attacking more than 1,100 targets with more than 1,400 munitions. 차윤경, Arirang News.
South Korea is discussing possible evacuation plans for its citizens in the Middle East in the event of an emergency, as regional tensions continue to escalate. National Security Advisor Shin Won-sik and the Presidential Chief of Staff for Policy, Song Tae-yoon, convened a meeting on Tuesday to assess the impact of the crisis on Korean security and economy. Senior officials reviewed the security of overseas Koreans, troops, and diplomatic missions in the region. The presidential office has vowed to take preemptive measures if necessary and closely cooperate with the international community to restore stability in the Middle East. Shifting gears, the top diplomats of South Korea, the U.S., and Japan have met in New York and reaffirmed their commitment to continued diplomatic cooperation despite political transitions. For that, they agreed to work on holding a summit between their leaders by the end of this year and establish a trilateral secretariat. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji reports.
In a trilateral meeting that took place in New York on Monday, on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, South Korea's Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol and his American and Japanese counterparts, Antony Blinken and Yoko Kamikawa, vowed to continue to cooperate, regardless of the upcoming leadership changes in the U.S. and Japan.
We have political transitions in Japan, in the United States, but this trilat, irrespective of those transitions, will remain vital to the future of all three of our countries, a future that we are working to shape together.
This comes as the U.S. presidential election is set to take place in November, and as Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party will elect a new leader to become the country's prime minister later this week. The three officials also agreed to pursue efforts to hold a summit between their leaders before the end of this year and establish a trilateral secretariat aimed at institutionalizing the three-way partnership.
During a meeting between the vice ministers of South Korea, the U.S., and Japan last May, the three countries agreed to promote a mechanism to further institutionalize cooperation. In line with this, the three countries are currently engaging in discussions to cooperate on establishing a secretariat.
As for issues on North Korea, the three diplomats addressed concerns regarding the regime's uranium enrichment facility and a recently unveiled new ICBM missile launcher, as well as its recent military cooperation with Russia. The three countries agreed to firmly respond to all kinds of provocations from the North and work together on urging the regime to abide by UN Security Council resolutions. Monday's meeting was the three officials' first face-to-face meeting in 7 months, since meeting on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Brazil back in February. Bae Eun-ji, Arirang News.
A key South Korea-U.S. defense dialogue took place this week here in the capital. Both sides agreed upon cooperation against North Korea's recent trash balloon campaign, as well as cyber and electronic warfare, in addition to the regime's nuclear and missile threats. Our correspondent Kim Jung-sil has the details.
The 25th Korea-U.S. Integrated Defense Dialogue took place in Seoul from Monday to Tuesday, where senior defense officials from both nations reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening their bilateral security alliance. South Korea's Deputy Minister for National Defense Policy Cho Chang-nae and the U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for East Asia, Anka Lee, discussed growing threats from North Korea. A central focus of the discussions was reinforcing the defense vision of the U.S.-ROK alliance. The vision includes 3 core objectives: enhancing extended deterrence against the North, modernizing the military alliance through technological cooperation, and expanding security ties with other like-minded nations in the region. Both sides expressed deep concerns over the advancements in North Korea's nuclear and missile programs, including recent space launch attempts. The dialogue also addressed North Korea's continued sending of trash-carrying balloons across the border. The officials condemned these actions, saying they undermine peace and stability on the Korean peninsula. The officials also stressed the importance of a coordinated response to the North's gray zone provocations, which include cyber attacks, electromagnetic warfare, and escalating tensions along the northern limit line, a disputed maritime boundary between the two Koreas. South Korea urged North Korea to respect the NLL's crucial role in maintaining regional peace and stability. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
President Yoon tonight held a banquet with key figures of the People Power Party, signifying his will to strengthen ties with the ruling party 2 months after its leadership race. The dinner meeting included party leader Han Dong-hoon and floor leader Chu Kyung-ho, along with new members of the recently appointed leadership. The dinner meeting provided a channel for continued communication between the administration and the party, with lawmakers conveying public sentiment and policy proposals. It also introduced party members to new senior aides to the president, such as Senior Secretary for Low Birth Rate Response, Yoo Hae-mi. During the dinner, Yoon reportedly remarked on the dinner menu consisting of pork and beef, and shared the achievements reached during his official visit to the Czech Republic last week. Staying on the political scene, the government and ruling party have announced plans to expand support for young people who are struggling to find jobs by expanding related budget. Our National Assembly correspondent Lee Si-woo has the details.
To help young South Koreans who belong to socially vulnerable groups, the government and ruling party officials decided on Tuesday to work on revising relevant laws to provide better support. Ministers of Welfare and Employment and leaders of the ruling People Power Party agreed to push for a change to the existing act for the support of vulnerable young people, to foster equal opportunities for those in low-income groups, those who are taking care of family members in need, or those who are socially isolated and staying at home. As part of the effort, they are pushing to expand the employment budget for next year to better address youth unemployment. The plan is to bolster the 2025 budget by 16% compared to this year, to above 2.2 trillion Korean won. The Employment Ministry will use the budget to offer tailored job counseling for over 240,000 students and graduates. Furthermore, they will create a database of graduates to find talented people who are unemployed and help them find work.
The Ministries of Employment and Education will cooperate to discover young people in prolonged unemployment since graduation.
The Ministry of SMEs and Startups plans to share job announcements at 30,000 model small and medium-sized companies with good working environments and launch a special savings deposit program for those working in them. Meanwhile, the ruling party pointed out the need to work on the structural issue over the long term.
The anxiety among the younger generation is no mere personal issue, but a structural problem of our society. We will take the initiative to lead the problem-solving process from the viewpoint of these young people.
Tuesday's announcement followed a recent alarming survey result from Statistics Korea, which found that over 80,000 young people in South Korea had not sought work for at least 3 years since graduation, and instead spent most of their time at home isolated from society. Lee Si-woo, Arirang News.
President Yoon has called on relevant government agencies to follow up on the nuclear energy partnership forged with the Czech Republic last week. The call came during a live address earlier on this Tuesday morning at its first cabinet meeting since returning from Prague this past Sunday. Out of the 56 MOUs penned between Korea and the Czech Republic, over a dozen deals are related to cooperation on the nuclear power front, ranging from research and development to fostering relevant talent. President Yoon also condemned claims by opposition parties that Korea's bidding price for its envisioned nuclear project in the Czech Republic was set too low and would lead to potential losses. Calling the claims, quote, deplorable, he urged for restraint from politically motivated remarks. In other news, the Korean government is moving to bring down the price of cabbages by expanding supply. On Tuesday, the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs announced that it plans to import fresh Napa cabbages from China, with 16 tons set to arrive on Friday.
This comes as the wholesale price for a head of cabbage, the main ingredient in most kimchi, surged to around 9,500 won or $7 this month. The ministry will also increase the amount of imports in the future based on production conditions in China. The U.S. has proposed a ban on the sale of connected and autonomous vehicles that use Chinese and Russian components, likely resulting in conflict between Washington and Beijing yet again. Lee Seung-jae explains.
Citing national security concerns, the U.S. Department of Commerce on Monday proposed a new rule that would ban the import or sale of connected vehicles that are installed with software and hardware made in China or Russia. This comes as the Bureau of Industry and Security released a notice on the proposed rule due to what it said were concerns that cars with cameras, sensors, software, and other components made in China could be used to collect sensitive data on drivers, passengers, and U.S. infrastructure. The rule primarily targets hardware and software integrated into the vehicle connectivity system and software installed into the automated driving system. The VCS is a set of systems that allow the vehicle to communicate externally, whether it be through Bluetooth, cellular, satellite, or Wi-Fi modules, while the ADS allows highly autonomous vehicles to operate without a driver behind the wheel. The newly proposed ban on software would be applied for the 2027 model year, while the ban on hardware would go into effect in 2030. In response to the latest proposed ban, Beijing slammed the announcement, calling it a discriminatory measure. At a regular briefing on Monday, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian stressed China's opposition to the U.S. generalizing the concept of national security and discriminating against Chinese companies and its products. The spokesperson called on Washington to respect market principles and provide an open, fair, transparent, and non-discriminatory business environment for Chinese companies, adding China will resolutely safeguard its own legitimate rights and interests. Seoul will be closely watching the development of the proposed rule, as is expected to force South Korean automakers to readjust their supply chain. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Researchers here have developed a mechanism to predict the diverse impact of potential constructions underground to allow for better response measures. Yoon has more.
This is the latest virtual reality setup that simulates the expected vibrations and noise at construction sites. It has been developed by the Korea Institute of Civil Engineering and Building Technology. Detailed data from the simulated construction blast is displayed on the monitor, including its impact range and depth.
The values of vibrations and sound can vary and can be changed. You can think of it as a technology that can enhance the understanding for users.
With the use of this technology, construction site planners can accurately predict the blast location and expected noise level of underground construction work. Such construction work that takes place underground has been difficult to forecast, which has led to a greater number of civil complaints and petitions. The newly developed simulator can also be used to help residents in surrounding areas understand the noise and vibrations from construction in advance.
For large-scale underground construction like the GTX or underground highways that will be built in the future, this technology can help reduce distress for the public.
The simulators have been installed and are in operation at the second stage of construction for the Honam high-speed railway project. The research team said it plans to expand the application of the simulator to underground transportation infrastructure development projects, such as future subways and GTX lines. Yoon, Arirang News.
Over in Italy, 5 Korean designer brands that earlier took part in the Seoul Fashion Week held an exhibition at the Milan Fashion Week last week. The occasion follows the inking of an MOU between the Seoul Metropolitan Government and the non-profit National Chamber for Italian Fashion for partnership in promoting bilateral brands. The showcase also included a K-Fashion forum aimed at introducing Korean designs to international buyers. A unique cafe campaign initiated by city officials here in Seoul is taking root across the country to keep senior residents with mild dementia better connected to their community. Our Yoon explains.
There is a special cafe in South Korea where customers are encouraged to kindly accept that their drink may not be what they ordered.
감사합니다. Here at gov't, seniors with mild cognitive impairment or mild dementia work as baristas, fostering a warm and understanding atmosphere. The work is one way these elderly people can prevent or slow down the progression of the disease.
The campaign, called gov't in Korean and Memory Cafe in English, was launched in 2018 by Seoul City and the healthcare company Handok. It aims to tackle the increasing number of dementia patients in South Korea's aging population, while also raising public awareness of the condition. Imagine not being able to recall events from just a few minutes ago or forgetting what you were about to say. One of the biggest impacts of this is a significant drop in confidence. For barista Lee Jung-rae, working at the Memory Cafe has been a turning point in her life.
When I first came here, I was dealing with severe social anxiety and depression. I wouldn't answer my phone or open the door to anyone. I was really struggling and even afraid to talk to anyone. But meeting people here has helped me open up and talk more. Even at the end of my shift, I don't want to leave. I've become so much happier and I really love it.
According to the most recently released related data, around 19% of the total population of South Korea is aged 65 or older. By 2025, this is expected to exceed 20%, marking the transition to a super-aged society. The deputy head of one of Seoul's dementia centers emphasizes that with the dementia prevalence rate exceeding 10% in people aged 65 and over, efforts by the government are crucial.
One of the campaign's main goals is to help people get outside and connect with others. By participating in these activities, they can see that they can contribute to their community, which boosts their self-esteem. We believe that this increase in confidence can play a significant role in preventing or managing dementia.
World Alzheimer's Month takes place every September, and World Alzheimer's Day falls on September 21st, as part of a global effort to tackle the stigma around the disease and other types of dementia. Daily social initiatives like the Memory Cafe are currently available in 5 dementia centers across the country and offer meaningful opportunities to create special memories, reminding us that we can make a difference every day.
바리스타 이정래 화이팅!
이은희, Arirang News.
Just when we'd got out of the longest summer heat wave, Daecheongbong Peak on Seoraksan Mountain saw the season's first frost today, which came 30 days earlier than usual. And mountainous regions in Gangwon-do province will continue to have much chillier low temperatures, while the rest of the country will have wide daily temperature gaps. Beginning the day in the mid to upper teens in most parts at 18 degrees here in Seoul and Daejeon. Jeju will be warmer at 23 degrees. Highs will jump 10 degrees by the afternoon across Korea, topping out at 28 degrees Celsius here in Seoul. Then we should notice more clouds moving in as the day goes on, with afternoon showers in the forecast for Jeju and parts of Gyeongsang-do provinces. And 5 to 20 millimeters of rain is in the forecast, so please keep an umbrella handy for your evening commute. Afternoon heat in the capital stays for the rest of the week, so please be aware of wide temperature gaps and do dress accordingly. Well, that's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That's all we have for today. Thank you for watching. Arirang News will be back at 9 a.m. Korea time.